Hey, y'all, we're the good doctors of Abbey Research. I'm Dr. Kristen.
I am Dr. Erin.
You are incredibly welcome to the sound of our voices. We are two PhDs in social science who adore talking about culture and helping folks understand the world better through those conversations of culture. So we talk about everything from exactly what gender looked like in the 80s when we talked about this great show called Glow that people don't talk about enough and we miss very much,
I enjoyed that show so much.
to exactly how to understand different worlds around us through a series we call the Colonizers World Tour that exists on our YouTube channel. And then we have long conversations about what exactly happily ever afters look like in a world like Bridgerton. So there's a whole host of ways that you can engage with the idea that curiosity changes the world, which is one of our cornerstones here at Abbey Research.
This video is our OG Good Doctors content, a part of our series where we look at pop culture that usually focuses on women and other marginalized groups. But The Handmaid's Tale is the reason we have a YouTube channel. And we thank it for its service, though it has done some emotional damage through the years. We have a wonderful community of subscribers and commenters who have joined us on this journey, and we could not do it without y'all and your comments and your love. So we are up to season 4, episode 6, Vows. The Too Long Didn't Read recap. We have 2 locations: June's memory, flashbacks with her and Moira, and then what happens with Moira and June as they traverse from the aid camp in Chicago across the, what is that, Lake Michigan, I think, across the lake towards Canada and into Canada. There's a lot of scenes on boats. And we get an in-depth exploration to the relationship of Moira and June and what exactly Moira means to June. Which parts I found very valuable, though I wish it would have happened earlier. We don't find out what happens to Janine, which makes me very upset and question some of their choices in giving us all this backstory to Janine. So hopefully they pick up that dropped ball in episode 7. But that's the guts of it. We end with June in Canada.
And I did very much like the final scene of the episode.
There were some scenes I really did like, y'all. And yeah. I get frustrated when they do this because I feel like they make a bunch of episodes that I don't like, and then they bring back the like guts of why I loved the show. And there was a lot of that in this episode for moi. We end with June getting off a boat in Canada, reunited with Luke, and mustering the strength to step on Canadian soil, which I appreciated. But we get a lot of insight along the way. Dr. Kristen, what would you like to talk about, my friend?
June flashbacks tell us that one of the reasons, if not the reason, she refused to go to Canada without Hannah was that she believes the reason that Luke loves her is Hannah. And that
it is her job to save Hannah because she's her mommy.
Yes. But to me, it's very telling that the first thing she says to him is, "I'm sorry I don't have her. I'm sorry. It's just me."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that is okay. I don't really feel like that was something that could not have already been said a whole bunch of times, or the flashbacks we got around telling him about the pregnancy or anything else couldn't have happened, I don't know, when she handed Nicole to Emily. Like, there was a lot of ways to tell us that this was a fundamental part of why June wouldn't leave Gilead way earlier. And so the narrative way that they chose to do it makes me feel like they just came up with this 20 minutes ago and now we're retrofitting things. However, we've said this several times, we are not moms.
Right.
And so there are pieces of June's story that Elizabeth Moss obviously imbues with her own body understanding of what it means to be a mother, and that we cannot really fully identify with.
Mm-hmm.
We've had lots of moms that also watch this show tell us that they can't identify with June either. So it's obviously not like this universal motherhood experience all the way along, which is why this piece of Luke won't love me unless I have this kid is so important. And we should have had it a long time ago. It also, to me, explains why she sent him Nicole. Because, okay, I can't give you Hannah, but look, you love me because I can make babies. Look, I made another one, and I promise you it's loved.
I did
Like,
not make that connection.
all of this would have been helpful a little while ago, because it's obviously not something that June like just realized herself. Like, this has been,
This is
you
like,
have like a revelatory conversation.
right.
So that all could have happened. She could have said to Moira, even, this is going to kill, like, I have to get her out because it's the only way I can have a marriage. I mean, like, there are ways that you could have done this along the lines. And all of us who are in marriages have things that we assume the other person thinks about us. All of us in relationships have that. I will bet you all of the money in my bank account that Luke does not feel that way, but June has decided she has. And those kind of decisional limiting beliefs are massive. And the mindset that she's in is 80% of this show. And so for them to not give us her mindset at a narratively appropriate time is just so fucking frustrating, because this is not, it's actually really rich and fascinating, and it could have been told a little bit earlier. So that's my big thing with that. And
Yeah.
then I can talk about Moira. The best parts of this episode were Samira Wiley and Elizabeth Moss screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And if I could just live in those scenes for a little while longer. We have missed Samira Wiley.
So much.
We have missed this interaction. We have missed one of the reasons that June has gotten away with what she has gotten away with for the last 4 seasons is that no one knew her.
Yeah.
And now she is being faced with the person to whom arguably even more than
Luke knows her the best.
knows
For
her.
sure.
And I mean, we've talked about, Aaron calls me out on stuff in ways that my husband does not. Aaron knows me differently and deeper than, in a lot of ways, than parts of my life with my husband, because there is a similar gender thing. There is a bonding that we do between genders that we don't do often across genders sociologically. And so there's a really, truly, like, they're each other's people.
Yeah.
And so you just get more of that.
More of that would be great. Yeah, I agree with you about this revelation that in June's mind, the success of her relationship with Luke is tied to her ability to save Hannah.
Or her ability to be a mother.
I also think, like, it's really important where she says, you know, I was supposed to save her because I'm her mommy. Like, I think she thinks that too. And like all of the maternal stuff that we get from June over these seasons makes a lot more sense. But I felt completely dumped in the deep end on this. And that's what I didn't appreciate about it, because, and we talked about this offline before we started filming, that's not what they showed us from Luke and June's relationship ever.
That neither one of us felt. If you got that vibe, please let us know.
Let us know where and when it happened, if you remember. But like, y'all, I was going back to all the flashbacks we got of their relationship.
And it just felt like a baby wasn't a lovely, delightful miracle addition, not the fundamental core part of who they were.
Or who June thought they were.
Yeah.
And so that came like out of left field. So it made it harder for me to invest in it emotionally, because in my head, I was like, the wheels were spinning trying to remember, had they told us this? And I didn't remember. So that I thought was really weird. But again, I feel like they're doing cleanup on explaining June's motivations when they could have done it along the way with her thoughts about Hannah. And like, again, we aren't mothers, but like, I watched this episode with my mother. And she is one of those mothers that understands June. And she said, like, because I was saying, I was like, June can't help her from Chicago. June can't help her from Gilead. Why won't she just go to Chicago? Why won't you just go to Chicago? As we were like figuring out whether she would. And my mom was like, you know, she said it could have broken me if I had to have walked away from one of my children. And so I think that's what they want us to show, but like I still don't believe that if your sole driving animus for 5 years has been to get your daughter back, why do you get on a train to go to Chicago to find the resistance? Why don't you try and escape to Chicago where you have friends and allies and governments that
try to escape to Canada.
Sorry, yes, I keep confusing those. Why don't you try to escape to Canada where you have friends and allies and governments who will help you?
And if you want to give me that, like, I mean, obviously June is the poster child of PTSD, but if you want to give us that, like, what really broke her is that Hannah is afraid of her.
Yeah, doesn't know her.
Cool. That's a great through line, that this is why she then makes the decision to go to Canada. I am unclear as to the detour to the Nighthawks in that motivation.
Yeah, we talked about this in episode 5, but it's even more stark in episode 6.
Even more so. I don't know why we got the detour. We also need to say, obviously, like, I have never been a handmaid. And
spoiler alert.
Have never been a handmaid. But all of the trauma that I've ever experienced, my response has not been to find weaponry and destroy people. I love many people for whom that is, they want to burn the world down when they're hurt. That's not me. So there's a fundamental piece of June's humanity that I just don't understand. I don't quite vibe with. And so if you are somebody who believes that, like, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and you get this impulse to just mow down soldiers, let us know, because to us, it feels like a weird bubble. But if it makes sense to you within her trauma response, we would love to hear that.
We would love to hear that. Yeah. I think the other thing we need to talk about again is this show. Like, and we had a bunch of people engage with us and say, like, it was especially difficult to believe that they didn't put trackers on the handmaids because they used to track them. And like, how do these women escape in episode 2 and they can't find them for 18 days or something? This is the Gilead state that is entirely, like, from my incarceration perspective, it's the panopticon, right? You are always being watched. You are always under
observation. That's why they call them the eyes. Like, yes. That's the world that Atwood built.
Their job is to watch. So, y'all, she's on a boat. There's a border patrol. And you want to tell me Bruce Miller et al. They do not have pictures of June's face at every border patrol check anywhere. When she had to walk up to that dude and he was like, name, and she was like, Rachel Smith, I was like, get out, get off my bus, get out of my face. That was the most. She's a wanted fugitive. She is fugitive number 1. One of my favorite movies growing up was The Fugitive with Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford. They had his face plastered everywhere. He had to go get a disguise. June wore a hat. Like, you guys, it broke me. That was,
I know, and like, it's like her version, like, and Nadine will appreciate this and several other people too. I was like, oh, it's like when Steve Rogers thinks he can't be Captain America because he puts on a baseball hat.
Right, he puts on a baseball cap.
You still look like Chris Evans. Like,
he's hanging out in Romania just with a baseball cap on. I was like, buddy.
There is no way that they don't have facial recognition software in Gilead. There is no way that they don't have, like,
because we've talked about how, like, industrialized society is, but that the eyes and the Guardians have all this high-tech stuff. Yeah, that to me, just like,
I started laughing. Like there was a couple, like both episode 5 and episode 6, which obviously work in tandem together, and they're supposed to.
Yeah.
There were so many things where I was just like, okay, show. That's breaking all of your logic and all of your rules, but you want this emotional payoff, so okay, show.
Yeah.
And that is, we've got 4 episodes left in this season.
You guys,
I don't know where we're going. We were talking offline that there's 2, like, obviously this is we've been saying it forever. Other people have been saying it. The show ends with the destruction of Gilead in some way, shape, or form, obviously. If it doesn't, my God, you think I hated Lost? Just wait until I scorch the earth verbally about Handmaid.
I was about to say, like, you want to talk about trauma in which my response would be to set things on fire? That would be it.
Yeah. I will verbally eviscerate
the show
forever. So it's anyway.
Yeah.
One option, and we know they're filming season 5. Thank you, Canadian spies. So that season 5 ends with the destruction of Gilead. To me, a more interesting show is season 4 ends with the destruction of Gilead, and season 5 is about where the hell do we go now? Because Gilead, as Commander Lawrence very wisely said, Gilead is an idea. And I would be eminently more fascinated to know how Gilead dies after the state of Gilead dies.
Because it's 2 different things, right? Destroying the state, does not destroy the idea.
Because it's possible, hopefully, fingers crossed, that Serena's pregnancy leads us into what is Gilead without the state of Gilead, and is Gilead still Gilead without the state? Because the government part of it isn't the piece that I think could ever happen on this planet.
Yeah.
The emotional piece is what is happening now.
Yeah.
And so that would be so much more fascinating to me if the state fell at the end of episode 10 in this season, or maybe like 1 or 2 episodes into next season.
Yeah.
But give us some of the aftermath, please.
Earlier. Yeah. Because tangentially we were talking about, not related to Handmaid's Tale, that like we are in the process of transitioning to a different phase, potentially coming out of a global pandemic. In the United States, obviously vaccination globally is not equitable at all. Vaccination within the United States isn't equitable. But things are opening up, like society is changing again. And like we were talking about the implications of that in a mental health perspective, in an emotional health perspective, in a societal perspective. So like, I think you would have a lot of people really interested in some of the philosophizing of what that might look like post Gilead.
It would be utterly fascinating.
In that transition. Yeah, we would
gladly hang out in the writer's room for a couple months to help if we could.
If you guys need some help, I volunteer as tribute. Yeah, so now is the time in the season where we start talking about where it ends for this season, right? Because boy, are they escalating.
Escalating fast.
We
want to let you guys know that we're still considering doing a live reaction for the season finale. We hope you enjoyed our live with Dr. Nadine Thornhill last week, and that you were able to make it. If you weren't, we do love our replay crew. Just remember that all participation in lives is welcome, whether it is live or replay driven. So if you would be interested in us doing a live reaction to the finale of The Handmaid's Tale, A, let us know if you want that. And B, let us know if this is a special enough event. Would it be better for you if we did it at night?
Yeah.
Because we're happy to shove some things around for The Handmaid's Tale season 4 finale, to do a live. It would not be the night of the finale. We need time to think.
We're not you guys know we need some.
We're not the instant doctors. We are the good doctors. And so, but if you would like it at night in terms of Eastern Standard Time, please let us know.
Please.
In the meantime.
Yeah.
I mean, what is our hope for you this time that connects?
I was about to say, you've been coming up with really good hopes. I'm just like, comment, please.
Yes, please do all the either podcasty or YouTubey things, however you are listening to this. But I believe our hope for you until we talk to you next time is that you have a friend that speaks truth to you.
Yeah, and I think what I didn't say, but it makes sense to your hope, is what we learned is that the only person June can be vulnerable with is Moira, and that was valuable. It should have happened earlier, but that was very valuable. And she's the only one that can call her on her crap because she knows her. And
So
we
may you
talk,
be known.
may you be known. That is our wish for you. And may you have people that you can be that vulnerable and honest with. And we will see you all for episode 7.